he still impacts us every single day, and he's a guy that we speak about every single day. He allows our program to be so much more than a lacrosse team.
You know, now he's sort of the embodiment of what it means to be, you know, a Cornell lacrosse player.
George Boiardi.
George Boiardi.
Always a competitor.
Great teammate.
Quiet leadership style.
You know, George is someone that, you know, is known as one of the best teammates of all time.
There isn't a day that goes by where I'm not thinking about those Boiardi values.
I unfortunately never got the opportunity to meet George, but the stories I've heard and the impact he's had on this program are sometimes hard to describe and put into words.
The spirit of George has pushed me to become a better version of myself and the best version of a teammate that I could be.
Really, George has set the standard for all of us.
George and I were fortunate enough to grow up together, have a lot of the same interests. My family moved away from Washington when I was in 5th grade, but George and I stayed in touch. We spent summers together. We went to a lot of sports camps together, and then ended up getting accepted to Cornell and ended up being roommates when we got there.
My earliest memories of George are just him being this, you know, awesome teammate, very welcoming, you know, very hardworking, and someone whose, you know, raw athleticism came through immediately, but so did his work ethic, and so did his, you know, kind of quiet leadership style of, you know, always being the guy who is working harder and doing things the right way.
He would be the last guy in the locker room, and if there was a guy who was having a rough day or rough week or whatever, he would pick up on it. He'd wait for that kid to go home. Hey, hop in the car with me. Let me take you home. You know, one of those things where he just showed that he cared, and he was willing to be there for his guys and his teammates. He
just serves as a way to kind of live your life and know that there's always room to improve and to get better in, no matter what aspect, whether it's lacrosse, school, just being a good person, a good family man, a good friend is something that you can model your life after and definitely look at the impact he's had and seeing that he's a very special person.
I think a lot of people didn't realize, just because he was so quiet about it, he would stay and put in so much extra work. I mean, you think a guy can't run faster, and he always would. And that was one of the things, just he was always a competitor with everybody else, but also with himself. And he always demanded the most out of everybody that he played with, but also out of himself. And you saw that when he should be tired. He had that sort of interpersonal drive that really kind of inspired all of us and made all of us want to do that on our own and improve ourselves as well.
And we're fortunate enough to call him one of ours. He's not, you know, this theory of everybody should be a great teammate, everybody should be caring and selfless and hardworking, and all these really important qualities that we look for in our teammates. We're not just talking in theory. We're talking about a guy who literally was in our locker room, wore the jersey, was a huge part of who we are. And even though I never met George, you know, in my time with Cornell Lacrosse as a player, now on the coaching staff, all of our guys form a relationship with George because that's what we're looking to be.
I mean, he literally put his body, his heart in front of the ball because that's what he needed to do to defend the goal, and he did. And it was tough there for a while. You know, I think the turning point for us was understanding, you know, what would George want? You know, really helped us to kind of see what we could do to turn such a terrible situation into something that could have some positive out of it.
The Myers St. George Boiardi Foundation didn't start, you know, just on day one. It actually started as a constellation of separate fundraisers and separate ways to honor and continue George's legacy.
He started multiple different things, including Big Red Readers, which is something that our guys do in local elementary schools to connect with young students.
The Boiardi Open, which was a golf tournament that used to be held in the Washington, D.C. area.
The Wall of Power in the weight room's named after George.
The 21 dinner that was founded by alumni, you know, in our class and other classes, as an event to support Teach for America South Dakota, where George had planned to go after graduation.
The Adopt a Family program. Our team adopts a handful of families, and our guys will buy the gifts and the coaches will buy the food.
We've taken Saturday mornings as a team to donate time to the Salvation Army to feed underprivileged families in the Ithaca area.
So there was a group on campus that started the 21 run.
This will be the 16th year that we do the 21 run.
And the 21 run is an annual 5K event that our team helps run. to benefit the Mario St. George Boiardi Foundation, as well as the Ithaca Family Reading Partnership.
So in most years, it's great to have everybody on campus and see faces, and usually they could pair it with a game or a weekend in the fall more recently, to get everybody together and do it in memory of George. But, obviously this year has called for lots of changes in our everyday life. So our hope is to continue the tradition, continue to raise money for the foundation, which ends up donating a check to the Family Reading Partnership of Ithaca. And it allows us to hopefully spread, the ability to participate far past our geographic location. In a normal year, if you can't make it to Ithaca, you can't participate. But the ability to do this virtually, the ability for everybody to take part in it, regardless of where they are, hopefully that drives participation this year and allows us to continue to donate to the Family Reading Partnership in a more significant manner.
And the charitable work that the foundation does has also evolved over the years. We still make grant gifts, especially this year with everything that's going on, to these organizations that meant a lot to George, like the Family Reading Partnership, like Teach for America South Dakota. But we also sponsored over 100 students at this point in time to go do anything they want, and that is enriching their growth, specifically with a goal towards empowering this next generation of leaders. One thing we did recently that I think we're all proud of was we took this program to South Dakota, to the schools serviced by Teach for America South Dakota, where George would have been.
It's pretty cool to be able to be impacting the same places that George would have if he was still with us. I mean, he was always a teacher and he always wanted to help people. So it's pretty cool for us to be able to continue that in his name. I mean, we never expected to write a book about George. And to be quite frank, we were all very protective of George and his legacy. And John Gordon wrote 2 books, the Hard Hat and the Hard Hat for Kids, that are phenomenal.
If you have the opportunity, I'd say read the Hard Hat. It's one of those things that I've read it, countless times. And every time I go back, I feel like there's another piece of George, or another quote, or another example of things that he did that really set him apart from everybody else and made him that special of a leader that we're still talking about him to this day. And so, for me, it's been transformational, and I continue to learn from George every single day.
We have a couple symbols across our program. The hard hat, fortunately, I've been honored to carry it this year. Goes to the junior who kind of exemplifies some of George's qualities. And it's not just one person, it's really the whole class, but to be selected to carry that is a true honor, and something that I take a lot of pride in.
For us, George kind of set that standard. Significance is the goal.
I think that all of us want our children to grow up knowing George's lesson, and hopefully to, be as much like George as they can be.
He just always did the right thing.
Definitely, it's a tough standard to live up to, and it's a tough thing to do every day, but if you strive to be the best teammate you can be, and give the best effort you can in everything in life, definitely we'll see an improvement, and some special things happen. So I want to say thank you for your support with the 21 run and our program in general.